Let's take a quick look at the Chord Track functionality that was introduced in Cubase 7. The Chord Track is a great way of trying out different chord progressions for your song, but it also integrates with a lot of the editors for great features under the hood. To add a chord track, go to your track columns, right-click, and select Add Chord Track. The Chord Track can send MIDI data out to Audition Chords, and this could be set right here. I'm going to choose the Neo Soul keys, Fender Rhodes piano instrument. Now to enter in chords, select your drawing tool and click on your timeline of the chord track. When we see an X, that means that chord isn't defined. To add additional chords, I could click on the icon in the lower right-hand corner and navigate and add additional chords. And I can navigate between those chords by using my left and right arrow keys on my computer keyboard. I can now select my chords. If I have a MIDI keyboard hooked up, I could actually activate the MIDI input and play a chord, and that would automatically choose that chord there. To start off a song, let's say I'll start here. If I wanted to add a second chord, let's say from the F, let's say to B flat. And let's say I know I want to end on a C chord. But let's say I don't know a good chord to get from B flat to C within the progression. So what I'm going to do is activate the Chord Assistant tab, and we could activate the gap mode. And the gap mode will look at the chord before and the chord after the specified chord and give you suggestions. And you can have different levels of complexity based right here. So you say, okay, let's try G minor chord. Let's say this last chord, I want it to be a ninth chord. Now I can change the voicings of the chords from the info line. So if I wanted this to be more of a first inversion or second inversion. Now it's also determined the scale, and we could think of this roughly as the key, but what notes best fit over this chord progressions. And you could play each one here, and then, or if you want to listen to the scale, you can select there. But we'll also have different voicings for different instruments. So if you're kind of writing for guitar, you can say, okay, I want guitar voicings. That'll be 3-string triads. Or more jazz articulations, or different piano voicings, or pop, rock, or jazz. Now if I want to turn these chords into MIDI data, I can select the track, my Neo Soul keys track. I'll go to my chord track and choose chords to MIDI. And now it's automatically generated the parts based on the chord progression. What's really exciting about the chord track is we don't have to necessarily start the whole project with it, but we can incorporate it at the end. So if I have an existing project here, I can select particular tracks, and I could do this kind of multiple tracks simultaneously. Go to the chord track and tell it to follow the chords. And at this point, what I could do is I'm going to start off, let's say in this example, with a G minor chord. So we want to do kind of more of hip hop. So we go to the next chord. Let's make this an F chord. And you'll see that all my MIDI data changes automatically as I enter into chords. Or if I'm working on a soundtrack type of piece, I could come here and say we're so I can say I want this to be a D chord to start with. Then I can say let's make this an E major chord. And let's add a couple chords here. So all the MIDI tracks are dynamically changing. So let's make this an F sharp minor, then an X chord to a G chord. But let's say the director comes and he's like, okay, right here I want it to be more sad. Give me that sad chord. I can just double click, and instead of going through each part, I can now say, let's make it a minor chord instead. Diminished chord, major chord. Now the chord track is also great for if you have a piece where maybe you started off with piano and have a vocal, and then you want to kind of work that way and build your song based around an existing MIDI performance. So if we listen to this piece here, I have my piano part and my vocal. And what I want to do is come right here. I'll right click on the piano part, go to my chord track, and we'll say, let's make chords. And what I want to do now is just hit OK. So it's automatically generated my chords from my existing MIDI data. So now we look at our chords. We'll see
you stare at the ground, not a sound. Tell me why.
Now, if you don't have great keyboard skills but need to kind of sequence parts, one of the great features is a live transform mode. So let's say I'm going to activate my virtual keyboard here, and what I want to do is I'm going to hit the same 3 notes for the string part. And then as we come here to record, I'm going to tell it to automatically follow the chord changes. So we'll start off here. So I'll put the live transform to follow the chords. And as we play, I'll just record. Even though I hit the same 3 notes, it's automatically changing the chords for me. And now it's automatically transformed that based on the chords here. And when I look at my MIDI part, it's as if I played and followed all those chord progressions. Now, we always had great vocal editing capabilities with the Very Audio functions, but now we have Very Audio 2. And this is going to give us some additional functionality that's really integrated with the chord track. So if I come here, we could double click on our vocal part to enter the sample editor and enable the Very Audio. So I've done my analysis here already. I'm going to choose a new color scheme called Chord Track. So what this is going to allow me to do, I see green and blue notes. A green note means that that note falls within the chord that was generated from the piano part. A blue note means it's within the scale or the key, and a red note means it's out of key and out of the chord. So if I wanted to just change harmonically what's going on, I could come right there.
You stare at the ground, not
And since that note is green, I know it's within the chord and will work. If it's a red note,
You stare at the ground.
so you can see how that doesn't work. So this way we could know exactly which notes of the vocal fit within a chord. Now this gets really handy if you wanted to work with harmony parts, but here I only have a single voice. So if I play, I want to take that last phrase and add some vocal harmonies. So I'm going to come right here, select that phrase, go to my audio menu, and since we know what the melody is and we know what the chords are, I'm going to say let's generate harmony voices, and I could do up to 4 different harmony voices at once. And now it's generated the harmonies for me. I'll just kind of adjust the volume here a little bit. And now we'll listen to the vocals with the harmonies. Or if I say, okay, instead of this being a soprano voice, I want this to be a tenor, I can now just come right there and change the harmony. Now to make this even more interesting, I could select multiple vocal parts now with the Very Audio 2, hit enter, and I could see the different parts laid out for me right here, and I could choose the different harmonies. So now if I wanted to edit one part against another part or change, and because it's green in color, so as you can see, the Chord Track is not only a great tool for coming up with your initial idea, but to changing existing MIDI tracks and your audio tracks intelligently and making sure that it fits harmonically.